All roads in the world have been planned by man, walked by man, until he discovered a true companion of travel, the horse. The pages of time have footprints in pictures and stories of yesterday, today, and hopes of tomorrow on the road to the horse. The chapters of three men's lives are about to unfold before you with the true test of modern men's talents, tested by the horse. From the land down under, a son of Australia, Clinton Anderson found his love for horses at the tender age of 6. Clinton rode everything, including the family furniture. His family recognized his natural ability and desires to build his life around horses. If your son was Clinton Anderson, he needed a horse, and that horse was Cassie. And this sandy-haired 12-year-old boy grew. But so did his ambition, not only to ride, but to become a horseman. Clinton was an outgoing, highly energetic youth of now 15 years, and he had set his dreams into action. He began attending horsemanship clinics, training neighbors' horses, playing polo cross for 4 years, and then chosen for the national Australian team. He knew to be the best, you had to work with the best. So he worked for room and board at Gordon McKinley's facility in Queensland, Australia. And over a 2-year period, he rode over 600 head of horses. Driven, dedicated, and gifted, Clinton soon found himself under the guidance of Australia's nationally acclaimed horse trainer, Ian Francis. In 1996, Clinton came to the United States to train with Al Dunning. But he found much more than a great teacher. He found Beth. Soon they married and returned to Australia to continue a horse training business. Clinton's talents took him to a place in the Australian reining futurity. Now in life, each one of us is driven by a deep individual passion. Clinton Anderson is no exception to that rule. The passion of training and riding reining horses is close to this young man's heart. With his arrival back in the United States, Clinton became the first horse trainer to launch a made-for-TV training program broadcast on satellite television, rightly named Down Under Horsemanship. Clinton remains the newest and brightest horse trainer, capturing the attention of millions of horse enthusiasts. With his impressive knowledge of horses, his unique ability to teach others, it was only fate that Clinton Anderson would find his way from riding his first horse to the road to the horse. The son of America's most trusted horseman, Josh Lyons, raised in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado with horses in his blood. If John Lyons, his father, would have been a doctor, Josh Lyons, the son, would still be a horse trainer. At a young age, athletics and his exceptional connection with horses created the challenge that fed Josh's incredible work ethic and highly competitive nature. In high school, Josh lettered in numerous sports, earned a position on the state wrestling team, and accompanied his father to numerous training clinics. The son of a high-tech age who thrives on the edge of extreme, his flair for communicating to people is from the heart of a horse. After graduation and a basketball scholarship to a major college, the mild, young-mannered man chose not a life in the spotlight of basketball, but a life with horses. Josh turned his competitive ways toward himself. He drew upon his patience, his wit, and determination to challenge his ability with horses. Results came early to Josh Lyons. The student became the teacher, and whether working with unbroken horses, problem horses, or performance horses, his teaching techniques, all connected with the horse and, of course, with people. Josh's creative but effective training methods, combined with the solid base of the Lyons method, put Josh Lyons among the best trainers in the world. Beside every great man, you'll find a great woman. Horses have brought many wonderful things to Josh's life, but he never thought it would be his life's partner. It's Jana Lyons. The circle of life is complete for Josh. With wife Jana, sons Austin and Johnny, a deep commitment to his faith, family, training horses. The son of America's most trusted horseman is walking his own path to success. Snug in the Rocky Mountains at the Lyons facility, Josh Lyons runs the certification program, travels the United States and internationally, putting on clinics and fulfilling a life commitment to the horse. In 2002, Josh participated and emerged as a champion of In a Whisper. The format of competitive horsemanship brought Josh Lyons and the Lyons method that materialized to a winning formula. It is said that the second generation brings wisdom and knowledge. Then it adds courage. Josh Lyons is on the road to the horse. As any ranch mother of a cowboy will tell you, cowboys are born, sometimes with their hats on, and Kurt Pate was no exception. This Montana native was born a cowboy, is a cowboy, and I promise you will remain a cowboy. At an early age, this tall, easy-talking young man would develop a love of family, ranch life, and a constant curiosity of the horse. Kurt grew up living, eating, breathing the life of the American cowboy. From ranch chores of feeding and caring for the livestock to using his talents and effective common sense method of training a horse, to eventually finding his way to professional rodeo, bulls, broncs, and announcing. Kurt, as a young man, found much success as a champion rodeo cowboy, but the rodeo led him back home again. This true American cowboy never lost his respect, his curiosity, and the basic understanding of the value of the horse. What Kurt did see was a need to help the horse to accomplish that, and then he needed to help the people. His skills as a cowboy had grown into those of a true horseman, and after attending a clinic by Buck Branham, Kurt began to teach the basics, the basic techniques of horsemanship in clinics and demonstration in local and national forums. His expertise ventured far beyond the fence line to the lights and heights of Hollywood as one of the technical advisors for Robert Redford in the film The Horse Whisperer. Today, Kurt Pate has it all. With a deep commitment to his family, his wife Tammy of 15 years, his children Ryle and Mesa, a working cattle ranch in Montana, and a successful career as one of the horse industry's top clinicians. He is living the tradition of that life that was set before him. He walks in the footsteps of a deep heritage with commitment to his family, to ranch life, and to training horses, and the devotion to help the horse by helping people. Kurt Pate was born a cowboy in the Big Sky, is a cowboy from Montana, and will remain a cowboy on his way to the road to the horse. It was once said that all cattle trails lead to Fort Worth, Texas. In the middle of the historic Fort Worth stockyards, once called Hell's Half Acre, cowhands, bank robbers, and citizens all sat in the Cowtown Coliseum. As history continues to write itself on the arena floor of this historic 1907 Coliseum, 10 unbroke colts, 3 clinicians, and in just 3 hours, write a new chapter in the annals of history of Cowtown. Now, friends, let me introduce to you the celebrated host of the Camino de Caballo, Mr. Rick Lamb.
You know, a lot of history has been made right here. Hi everybody, I'm Rick Lamb from the Horse Show radio program, and I'm standing in legendary Cowtown Coliseum in Fort Worth, Texas. Over the next 2 days, history will be made here again. It's a competition called El Camino de Caballo, the Road to the Horse. 3 of the top horsemen in the entire world, Clinton Anderson, Josh Lyons, and Kurt Pate, will meet 3 virtually untouched young horses. Then, as a team of judges watches, each man will demonstrate his unique way of gentling a young horse and preparing it to be ridden. After just 3 hours together, each horse and rider team will have to negotiate an obstacle course. Now, a winner will be chosen here, but the real winners are you and me and our horses. This is horsemanship at its very best. Ladies and gentlemen, this is El Camino de Caballo. This remuda of 10 young colts was selected on the basis of uniformity, breeding, handling, and environment. 2 outstanding quarter-horse stallions, Handboy Hancock and a double-bred Blue Valentine, are the foundation sires. These colts run under 1 iron, 1 herd, and 1 ranch. Our 5 distinguished judges will select 3 of the 10 horses for today's challenge. They're looking for uniformity of character, demeanor, conformation, and conditioning. In general, they'll select 3 horses that are as close to being alike as possible. The 3 horses selected by the 5 judges were brought back into the arena and guided into separate round pens. Lowry Leo Hancock, Hancock Shug, Mighty Boy Hancock, all right, Kurt, step forward and draw. This is for which pen you will get. Drummer, we need a drum roll here. All right, number 3. Kurt is in pen number 3. Now we've got Clinton drawing. And he is in pen number 1. So that means, Josh, you get pen number 2. All right, gentlemen, go to your pens and we will get ready to start this competition. Clinton, are you ready to go? Yes. Kurt, are you ready to go? Yes. Josh, are you ready to go? Timer, are you ready to start the time?
Time is ready on your cue.
All right, gentlemen, enter your round pins and begin your training.
What I wanted to do right when I started out was to get my hands on the horse as quick as I could. Rather than running him around and getting him scared, getting his heart rate up, I feel that if you can take a different approach where you go from one extreme, getting the horse soft, and then go to the other where you would run him around. I've changed my approach where I start out with the horse getting a hold of him, and then I move up to where I turn him loose and maybe move him around a little bit more. So that's the approach I took here. The reason I took my rope out and I wanted to rope him was so I just couldn't get him caught without getting him scared, and I wanted to get my hands on him as quick as I could.
Well, the horse I was working, I started out normal. I just went in and started the round pen work, gonna kind of get up closer, get the bridle on as soon as possible. But what happened was when I started to work this horse is more interested in trying to go over that panel. So what I had to do is I had to back off, and go real slow, and take my time getting up to this horse, because if I pushed it or I tried to rope the horse, what was gonna happen was the horse was gonna go over the panel. He already tried to go over it once. So I had to be real careful at this stage not to push this horse too hard. What I was trying to do was slow down the work, not think about the time limit, and just get up to the horse, and work him like I'd do if I was at home.
I do not want to scare the horse when I rope him. I threw it on. That's a hula hand shot, and it comes from the tail forward. And I think it's very important the way you rope a horse, not to scare him, but to get him where you can hook him on and not make him want to go away from you, but come to you. And that's what I'm doing, is I'm tugging on my rope. All I'm trying to do is get the horse to face up without chasing him, scaring him. I'm just trying to let him learn how to take pressure and let him learn how to get rid of pressure by giving to the rope. Now you can see he wasn't very well halter broke here because he really wanted to pull on me. And he wasn't that afraid of the rope, but he just knew how to pull. And all I tried to do is when he'd look at me, when I'd pull on that rope, as soon as he'd turn and look at me, that's when I'd give him slack, like that right there. And you can see the slack come up in the rope. That was good right there. He relaxed. Now to me, this is the most important part of the whole process, is the first time you touch the horse. See, that very quick touch made him a little afraid of me. If I'd have just slowed it down a little bit, now I got him better. And you can see the slack come in the rope. And his ears should start coming forward, and the horse is kind of acting like he likes the way I touch him. And all I want to do is get him to relax as quickly as possible, and then all through the deal, every time he starts to get afraid, I'm going to try to take him back to that relax point.
The thing that I really enjoyed about this colt starting competition is it kind of reminded me a lot back when I used to train horses for a living. When I trained horses for a living, I'd ride, anywhere from 10, 12 horses a day, usually work with a lot of young colts, problem horses, re-educating. And, when you train horses for a living, there was a time frame there. You had to get a certain amount of work done in a day because the more horses you could ride and work with, the more money you could make. And, it really made me be very protective of my time. I had to be real aware of how much time I was spending, make sure I got the best out of a lesson, make sure I didn't get hurt, my horse didn't get hurt, and it really made me be productive with my time. And it's been quite a few years now since I trained horses for a living, and this colt starting competition, because it had a time frame, you had an hour the first day to catch and work with your horse, you had 2 hours the next day, you had 3 hours total to get these horses broke, confident, soft and supple. So really you couldn't afford to spend any time that wasn't useful doing what you wanted to do. So when I went into this, I had a real solid game plan what I was going to work on. First thing I did with this colt is I worked with him and I round penned him, and I got him to move around the round pen, stop, change directions, turn to the inside. And what you're seeing now is basically the work of doing that. Basically the fruit of it is that this colt's now keeping 2 eyes on me. See when I walk around to his hindquarters here, how he's keeping his head on me. Okay, see when I step in front of that drive line, I'm trying to catch his eye. There it comes there, and he steps around behind like that. So before I get a halter on this horse or a rope on him, I need to make sure that I've got an imaginary rope on him that when I walk around to his hindquarters, I want that head to come towards me. I never ever want to throw a rope on a young horse until I've at least taught them to catch me with two eyes.
Well, at this stage, of his training, what I was trying to do is teach the horse to turn and face me. I'd walk up, and every time I started to walk up, this horse would want to take off or leave. So what I'd do is I just kind of work with his nose. Every time he took his nose away, I'd bring it back. I'd walk up close enough, just about almost touch him, and I'd turn around and walk away. Again, what I'd want to do here is, build confidence in the horse and get the horse wanting, to come to me, not me wanting to go to that horse. So it's kind of a game of curiosity killed the cat. If I keep walking up and turn around walking away, pretty soon this horse will start to walk toward me, or at least stay there long enough that I can start touching him and then move on in my training. Again, this stage took the longest, and but it was the most important stage. That, as far as I needed to get up and touch this horse, and pet this horse. When I could do that, I could put the bridle on, then I could actually start, into my lesson plan as far as breaking the horse out.
Now here I'm going back towards the horse where the saddle's going to go, and that's all I'm thinking about now is trying to get the horse prepared for the saddle. And I'll touch him on the right side first, only the places where the saddle's going to go. I don't waste my time anywhere else. And you notice the way my hand is trying to be real soothing to the horse. And I'm trying to get him to understand when I go to the withers, that's the central point. That's kind of like the neutral zone. And I just keep working down towards where the saddle, the skirts and the stirrups are going to be touching the horse. Now I'll go to the left side after I step him forward a few steps. If you don't step him forward, then when you get on him, sometimes they're really stuck. So each time I touch him and approach him back by the withers, I try to lead him forward so he learns how to go with something on his mind back behind him. And now when I approach, there I went too fast again. My hand should be a little slower and smoother. See that? Those are movements that are just too much for that horse. And I just needed to slow down. But pretty soon he learned to tolerate me. Now I'm trying to get him ready to put my halter on. And I just wanted to get him where I could get my hands around his head and not scare him to put that halter on. And he's really starting to settle and relax now. The horse is a lot touchier, I think, than people realized. And I think if I'd have scared him and chased him and got him on the muscle, so to speak, I think he'd have been a lot different horse than he turned out to be. I was real proud of the job I did with him.
It is the belief of El Camino de Caballo that the best clinicians in the world deserve some of the best horses in the world. These young horses that Kurt, Josh, and Clinton are working today are the results of a worldwide search by head wrangler Thomas Saunders V. 10 months ago, these horses were selected and commissioned for this event. Each colt is coming 3 in early spring, and each has been halter broken and rubbed on. The Rafter S Ranch takes great care and pride in producing some of the finest horses in the world, and it's only fitting that the best horses team up with the best trainers to make this challenge such an outstanding event.
Now here you can see I'm putting the halter on, and it's real smooth and slow, and he takes it real good. And just a little bit of preparation. And now once I get that halter on, I'll have control of his nose and his jaw, and I can really go to work getting him ready to saddle. Taking my rope off real smooth and easy, trying not to scare him and set myself back any. Now I feel real good. Once you get that halter on, I feel like I can really get someplace. As I go down here now, you notice my left hand is on the withers to keep the horse still. He tells me what he's doing by my hand on his withers. My right hand is rubbing the horse where my cinch is going to go, and you can notice his ears. He's kind of wanting to kick there, and I got to know when to go back up before he wants to kick me. I could have got him real bad to saddle here. I just really tried to take my time and get him where he could accept that pressure of my hand going down below him. And then as soon as he relaxes and kind of accepts it, I step him forward. I think that is so important, because every time you do this, you're starting over with the horse.
He was pretty scared and wanted to be away from me anyway, so I decided that I want to get my rope on him as easy as I could without scaring him with my rope. And I can see he's real sensitive about just kind of the way he moves, so I want to get my hands on him so I can start working where that cinch is going to go, because he's real sensitive about that area, and I think I can spend my time better getting him settled and relaxed. And after I get my saddle on, maybe I can do some moving around, but he wants to move anyway, so I'm going to try to get him to settle, try to keep the balance there. For me, I like to get my hands on him anyway, as quick as I can. Yeah, and that's why I roped him without scaring him. I didn't want to scare him at all with my rope. And then I wanted to get him settled and still and touching him. And I think I can do a lot more with my hand as a feel, like a 3-point contact or just a contact, which will help him to settle and keep his feet still so I can get him ready to saddle.
All right, good
Thank
job.
you.
Right now what I'm going to do is I just kind of threw a lariat on this colt. I've taught him how to face up and give me 2 eyes without the lariat and kind of get that imaginary rope on him. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to teach him how to follow a feel here. He needs to learn what it is to be restricted with a halter, lead rope, a rope. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just kind of walking to the side, pulling him off balance here, see if I can't get him to give me 2 eyes. Every time this colt goes to leave me, I want to make sure that I pull, and when he faces me 2 eyes, I release. You'll notice that I've got to have good timing about this. Like right now, I pull, and as soon as he faces me, I instantly quickly release. And it's that release that teaches that colt where the reward is. I want this colt to understand that if he keeps his eyes on me and he follows me around, I won't pull on the rope. But every time he goes to leave, I will pull on that rope. So right now that rope's not restricting around his neck, okay, and he feels comfortable. But you'll notice next time he leaves, okay, it is going to make him feel uncomfortable. Like right there, see how I pull and watch my hands. As soon as I release, I'll try most of my time to release that rope and instantly give him back slack back. So what I'm doing here is just trying to get him to face up to me. I'm yielding his hindquarters a little bit. I'm just trying to get up to him, get a little closer where I can eventually get up to him and start rubbing him a little bit. But before I can get up to him, I've at least got to get control of his feet enough that if he goes to leave town, I can pull and release and get him to give me 2 eyes. The more you move the horse's hindquarters, the more it is easier to get to loosen up their front end. So to get these colts leading, I've got to go around that hip and move that hindquarters all the time. But you'll notice how I'll kind of pull and then release. Pull and then release. Pull again, release. So the only place this colt gets to feel good is when he's given 2 eyes to me. Like right now, he's in a vulnerable position, he wanted to run, so I pulled and released. See how quickly my hands open up? So pretty soon he's starting to lick his lips here and realize, man, that's interesting. When I look at this guy, everything feels pretty good. But when I don't look at him, I feel like there's pressure being put on me. And that's what you want to do. You want to make the right thing easy and the wrong thing difficult. So right now I'm kind of walking in towards his hindquarters, trying to get him to loosen his hip up. He's wanting to kind of back up and be a little resistant there, which is very normal in the beginning. You don't ever want to teach a colt how to lead by just pulling straight out ahead in front of them. I want to teach them to lead by moving their feet around, then bringing their front end through like that, okay? And you'll notice that once he starts to loosen up that front end, he'll start to lead a little bit better. But you always do it by pulling to the side first. So eventually I'm going to get a little closer to him to eventually I can touch him. Usually in the beginning I just kind of stretch out my hand, see if they'll smell me a little bit. I might have to retreat a couple of times. And then I'm looking for some part of his body that he'll let me touch me. Maybe I can rub the corner of his jaw, maybe I can rub him on the neck. I usually don't try and rub them, between the eyes or around their muzzle, because a lot of them are pretty hawky about that in the beginning, okay? So I'm just looking for some sort of a starting point. You'll see that as I work with this colt a lot more over the series, he gets more and more confident, he gets quiet, and at the very end of the series, I demonstrate just how quiet he is, and it's all because of the foundation we're getting him on in the very beginning. We're getting his feet to soften up, we're getting him to give us 2 eyes on us, and we've got to establish a starting point. Notice how I keep going from side to side. You've got to train both sides of your horse, not just the left side, you've got to train both sides. A lot of horses will get very much one-sided. If you only work on one side, they might be pretty good on that side and really bad on the other. But again, it's that pull and release technique, and then I eventually want to spiral out and have him kind of follow me here. That's it. You notice how this colt's starting to keep his eyes on me and I'm not really having to pull on that rope very good? That's just what I'm looking for. There's a little step there. I want him to kind of walk out of that circle. Get ready. See his hind end loosening up now? He's starting to lead forward there. That's exactly when you want to reward it. So now I'm kind of going to walk up here and let him smell my hand probably. Okay. I like it if they'll smell me and touch me first before I get to touch them. So if I can, getting them to smell me first is a big bonus here. Now I'm just looking for some part of his body here where he might just let me get rubbed here. I might rub the side of his jaw here a little bit. I'm just looking for some sort of a starting point, but then I can start to build on it and get the rest of his body quiet.
We are 15 minutes into the competition.
What I was trying to do was get the horse to stand still while I walk up and pet the horse. Well, what happened was the horse kept making too many mistakes and wanted to back up and turn away. So what I decided to do is I just go back to doing the inside turns, ask the horse to turn inside, change directions, and do it again. Again, what this would do was the more inside turns I would get, on the horse, the more the horse started thinking inside that round pen instead of outside. Again, already knowing that the horse has a problem trying to get outside this round pen. He does not want to be in this round pen. So it goes back to the rules of round penning, which is get the feet to move consistently, then work on the direction. So what I'm doing right now is the feet are moving consistently, and now I'm asking for the direction. But not only, with the direction is I'm making sure the horse only turns inside, not outside. Again, I want everything this horse does thinking inside that round pen, not outside. If he starts thinking outside is when he's going to try to go over that panel or try to get away from me. But my goal isn't to get the horse to want to be away from me, it's to get the horse to want to be up next to me. So again, I could start petting him, sacking him out, put the bridle on and start doing some bridle work with him then. So it wasn't that I necessarily changed what I was doing. I was just trying to add to the lesson and make it easier and more simple for the horse to understand what I was looking for. The horse wants to do what I'm looking for. All I have to do is show him what I'm looking for.
As we watch these 3 clinicians today, it's clear that each has a deep and abiding love for the horse, and yet each also has a different approach to training him. This event, El Camino de Caballo, gives us an opportunity that is unique in all the world to see how these 3 distinct styles of horsemanship can produce the same amazing results, all in one place, all at the same time. What a great event, and what a great opportunity.
Now here, I got my rope on his belly. I use my rope a lot to sack the horse out. It's a tool that I have with me all the time, and it just really works out good for me to use to sack a horse out. The rope around the belly simulates the saddle so much, like the cinch, something going completely around the horse. But the great thing about the lariat rope and the way I had it put on is as soon as the horse steps forward with his front feet, like right there, when he steps forward, that's when I release my rope. And he learns that when he goes forward, rather than bucking or getting scared, if he just walks forward, the pressure comes off his middle. And once again, we're trying to let the horse learn how to accept pressure and then get the pressure away from him on his own. And I want him to think his way through this. And the lariat rope is the best way I know to do that. And it really helps the horse prepare for the saddling so he doesn't have to get in so much trouble. And I keep stressing how important it is to keep this horse from getting afraid. I do not want to scare a horse. My whole thought process is when I get out riding that horse outside, working cattle or whatever, if we get hung up in wire or if we get scared or whatever happens, he will come to me for help rather than sell out and leave and head back to the barn. Now here I'm putting the rope. Notice the rhythmic pressure that I use on it to get him to step forward, but it's back near where the rear cinch would be. And as soon as he moves his front feet forward, that's when I release the rope. It'll get easier and easier for him. This is also helping to prepare the horse when I do get on him to move out from my legs. The movement of my legs should be similar to that of the rope. And I want him to step straight forward here, not bend around me. I don't like to bend the horse too much because then when I get on him, he doesn't know how to go. I'd rather have him go straight forward. And when he does the right thing, I just give him a little bit of time to relax and work it out in his mind. If I keep jamming things on him, he'll get nervous about it, and it'll take repetition. And I don't want to do things with repetition. I want to do things good enough 1 or 2 times where it works in his mind. If I'm not getting through to the horse, I'll have to do things 10, 20, 30, maybe 100 times. But if I do it slow enough where he can understand, it'll take way less repetition. I try to use repetition to go back and check and make sure how good of a job I did. Throwing the rope over him is kind of getting him prepared for the saddle. That's kind of how a saddle will go on. And I'm getting him used to things around his feet by having that rope on his legs. And I like to see him walking forward while we're doing these things. He doesn't have as much trouble taking it if he can be moving his feet. And I like to back up a lot when I'm doing this, so my horse is looking towards me and has something to focus on out there, as well as the rope back there behind him. When his ears come forward, that's when I should start to kind of back off. But see, his ears are still there. See, right as soon as his ears come forward, I drop the rope. And that's his time to relax, because his mind came to me rather than the rope, and that just showed me that he had finally accepted the rope. And give him a little break, and then I can start again. And I'm starting to get him back up here as well. That's just the first place you would back a horse up, is to step him into the rope. And I like to really slow down in between and let the horse have time to think and work things out in his mind. I just put it on from the other side so I could cinch that saddle. It'd be just like cinching a saddle when I pull that rope up. As soon as he steps forward, I'll just release that rope. And then pretty soon he'll learn to go forward with the rope tight. But at first I wouldn't keep it tight the whole way. As he walks forward, now he's getting better about it, so I can keep it tight, and he's actually leading from the girth area. You can see my halter rope isn't tight at all. Now on the back cinch area, I wouldn't lead him from there, but I would drive him with it, because that's far enough behind his withers. Good. And he's really starting to feel comfortable around me, I feel. And I've just really got to be careful not to make a mistake and get him suspicious of me. And he's actually leading by the girth. Now I'm just trying to get him used to things around his legs, because I have to pick his feet up here before long, and I'm just trying to get that rope where I can pick a foot up with the rope. But I'll take a slow approach so I can get him where he's not afraid of things around his legs. And this is where I believe you have to be. This is where my thoughts on the predator-prey theory differ from a lot of folks. I don't think a horse and a human should have a predator-prey relationship. Right here, if I was a predator, all I do is fight him. But I can think my way through this, so me and this horse can have a different deal than a predator-prey. We're partners, or we're getting to be there anyway. So I try not to think of the predator-prey relationship. There's a higher level.
Start to prepare him. I'm trying to do a whole bunch of little things. I'm not focusing on one thing. I'm trying to prepare him for a whole bunch of things and have everything come together. So I have this rope kind of there, and it's the time, so I'll just help him to learn to take the weight off his foot and pick it up, and that'll help me to get him prepared for picking the feet up a
Now,
little
will
bit
you work
later.
the other side as well?
I might if I get there.
Now you can see here I'm up to this colt a lot more. I'm starting to rub him with my hand around his face a little bit here. He's still a little bit touchy around the offside of his face. I'm just kind of rubbing him here and getting him used to it because I need to get a halter on him here pretty quick. So I need to just kind of get him used to my hands. The last thing I want to do is try and reach up there and put a halter on him if I can't at least rub him with my own hands. You know, it's important that you do one step at a time. Get the horse used to the human being first, and then you can start to add the equipment that you'll need to get the horse used to. But always retreat, move him around a little bit, then go back and rub him again. You know, we had the judges watching us at all times. I didn't really bother to notice it too much because I was just too focused on my horse. I knew that if I did the job right with my horse, the judges were going to mark me. Lots of rubbing. Okay, you really want these colts to feel good about being rubbed. You start to rub up behind their ears a little bit, okay, over their eyes, getting them ready for that halter if it's going to go up there, okay? Constantly moving that hindquarters around, make sure I can control those feet. See how he's starting to loosen up that hindquarters a lot better there? He's not backing up quite as much. Okay, anytime my colt backs up or resists when I'm trying to rub him, usually what I do is I just kind of follow him and wait till his feet stop and relax, and then we'll retreat again. I kind of want the rubbing to look like the best part of the day. By going and moving his feet, I'm getting him to use the thinking side of his brain, and then I'll turn around and go and rub him again, and it kind of rewards him and lets him have a little bit of a rest. This colt was quite a bit more spookier on that offside than what he was on this side. You know, the horse's feet is basically a window to their mind. If you can get control of their feet, you'll get control of their mind. But if you don't get control of those feet, you're going to be in trouble. The more you get them to move forwards, backwards, left and right, and you can move those feet around, the better shape you're in.
It's not that the horse doesn't want me to touch it. It's just the horse is afraid and doesn't know what I'm going to do if I do touch it. So, again, what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to add a little bit of time, just add enough pressure without the horse taking, going away. If the horse steps back, again, I want the horse going forward, but it's too much pressure at this time. So what I'll do is if he goes to turn away, I'm just going to drive him back next to that panel. And try to, again, add as much pressure as I can without that horse, making a mistake or backing up. So I'm gonna ask for my hand, get up as close as I can to it, to where it stands there. It sees that that's all I'm looking for. Turn around and walk away, and then do it again. And every time I'll start to ask for a little more and a little more until pretty soon I'm touching this horse. But this horse was very difficult, as far as not, wanting me to. Not letting me or wanting me to touch him. But again, it wasn't because the horse was being stubborn or being, bad. It was just the fact that the horse didn't know what I wanted him to do. The horses never mind doing what I ask them to do. They mind how we ask them to do it. So once the horse learns that all I want him to do is pet the horse, then he'll be fine with it. And you'll start seeing big changes, and quick results once I start touching the horse. But again, this is the foundation. This is the work that takes to build that house. You have to have a solid foundation. And this is what I'm working on right now.
Now here I'm approaching him with my feed sack, and the reason I like to use the feed sack, after advancing after the rope, the feed sack, I can get it folded up real small, and I can rub the horse and groom him. And you notice my hand is my right hand when I'm on the right side. My right hand is up on his neck to support the horse, and it also tells me what he's doing with his head and if he's going to leave. Now I'm putting the sack. I start out on the right side, then I move it over to the left side. He was going to want to kick a little bit, so instead of keeping going, I took it back up. As soon as he relaxed, I stopped and backed up. Let him start again. Now I'll go to the left side, and I'll approach from the front, always, and I'll reach and just touch him with that sack, nice and easy. Now my hand is on the withers, my left hand, to keep and support him and to know what he's doing. And now I'll start working that sack down around the belly area, go from the right side to the left and the left to the right. And as he gets scared, I take my sack back towards my left hand. It's kind of an approach and retreat. As soon as he relaxes and gets comfortable and I see those ears twitching, I know I can step him forward and start again. The more times you get him to relax, accept it, take his ears somewhere else, and then start over again, it's like starting over every day. But if he gets scared, I try to back off before he gets scared, and I keep pushing the line farther and farther out there. Now I'm starting to unfold my sack, and it's making some noise, but I really have to pay attention to where my horse is. If he becomes afraid and tries to get out from under it, I'll teach him to be afraid. So I try to keep him just this side of getting scared, but you got to keep pushing him out there farther and farther. I try to notice where his front feet are too. I want to square his front feet up like a halter horse, so he learns to stand comfortable. Now he's getting better and better. Pretty soon I'll have the sack out full size. I notice the switching of the tail, means he better slow down. Now it's out like a whole saddle blanket. Very good. He accepted this very quickly. But once again, I didn't scare him. I kept coming back this side of him becoming afraid. Now I'm trying to get the horse prepared for picking his feet up, and I take a real soft approach, I think, to this too. What I'm trying to do here, I don't want to make the horse pick his foot up. My right hand is going to unweight the foot, and my left hand is going to just work down there I want him to pick his foot up before I try to pick it up. I want him to decide to do it. So here, there, see, every time he does that, I release. When he moves his foot, I release, and he'll learn to pick his foot up to get away from my hand.
So now I've kind of rubbed this colt down pretty good. What I would like to get is get this halter on him as soon as I can to get him used to having that feeling around the back of his poll, around his chin. Even if you get your horse kind of leading with that lariat, it's a different feel when you put a halter on him. So what I want to kind of do here is kind of walk up to him, rub him a little bit, and put it on.
We are 30 minutes into the competition.
Again, once I get that halter on, I want to repeat the same steps. Walk around to the horse's hindquarters, get those feet loosened up, rub him on the face some. Okay. My main objective for the rest of this hour is to just get this colt quieter and quieter, okay, and get him moving his feet in a circle. You know, my colt, I think, out of the three of them was probably a little bit of the most wildest out of the three of them, so it took me a little longer to get mine to be a little gentle and relaxed and so forth, you know. Some of the other guys got their colts caught a little bit quicker than me, but I wasn't too worried about it. I just knew that if I took my time, was patient, and I approached and retrieved at the right time, I'd eventually get my colt to catch up with their horses. Lots of rubbing around their belly there. You can't rub these colts too much around their belly. That's where the saddle's going to go. That's where the girth's going to go. You know, my main focus now is just moving all over them, starting to jump up and down, rub him. You can't rub these horses too much. It just gets them quieter and quieter. And you can see by the end of this session, you'll watch this horse's expression and he'll just get sleepier and sleepier. It's very important that whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. Horses have a left brain and a right brain. Just because you do it on one side does not mean they know how to do it on the other. See how this colt's quite a bit wilder on this side? He's a lot spookier here. So I've got to come back here and say, hey, listen, it's the same person. Look at him, the way he's looking at me there. He's not very confident there, is he? He's kind of scared. He's wanting to run. But what I like about this colt, even though he's wanting to run, he's not running just yet. He's kind of hanging around long enough to wait. Now, he may run and I'll pull on him. But see, when he moves around, I just keep following him. I just keep following him and wait till he stands still and relaxes. And you retreat and build on it again. Okay, just rub them there. They're very ticklish and touchy around their belly, around their girth area. Okay, he's starting to lick his lips there. That's good. The closer you get to them, the safer you are. You don't want to be out standing 3 or 4 feet away from them in case they turn around and kick you. They're going to get you at the end of their hoof. The closer you are, the safer you are. Lots of rubbing on these colts. You can't rub on them too much. I can't stress the importance of that enough, rubbing on these wild horses. Use both hands. Keep both hands moving all the time. If I can't get my horse used to just me, how am I going to get him used to any other piece of equipment that I'm going to get? So he's got to build some trust and confidence in me first, and that's why I jump all over him, rub on him, and just get him really, really mellow with being around me. Once I get that accomplished, usually the other tools aren't very difficult. The biggest thing I think people do wrong in a situation like this is when those colts start moving away and getting a little worried, they back off that pressure. See what I did here? I just kind of went to the side here and pulled him off balance. Get 2 eyes on you.
I finally got up and was able to pet the horse. So now what I'm doing is I'm petting him more and more and walking away. What I'm going to do here is I need to connect myself to the horse so I can start giving him the answers. So what I'll do is I'm going to build a loop, I'm going to put it on my arm, and I'm still going to do the same thing. Again, I'm not going to get in a hurry to put the rope on the horse. I don't want him to panic, take off, and have to start all over again. So I'll just start rubbing him, with my hand with the rope around my arm. As I'm doing that, I'll start doing more and more until pretty soon I slide the rope nice and easy over the horse's head, and the horse never panics, jumps, or takes off. Again, this is how long it took me. We're about 45 minutes into training. This is how long it took me to get up till I could touch the horse and connect myself to that horse. As you notice, by the time I put the rope on the horse is fine. The horse doesn't panic, jump, take off. I take the rope, slide it right on, put the rope on the horse's neck, and now I can start giving the horse the answer. And now I'm actually able to start, and really get going on my training and help the horse out more by giving him a clearer signal of what I'm looking for. So now what I'm doing is just start working on the horse, giving the pressure. I'm going to, ask the horse to go forward, move forward, put pressure on the rope until the horse turns and faces me. So again, what I'm teaching the horse is right now learning how to give the pressure, and again, I'm able to give the horse the answer, which is going to make the training go much faster because I have that rope on that horse's neck and I can tell him this is what I'm looking for. So at this time, at this moment, in the training, we got an hour in this first competition. This is about as far as I'm going to be able to get and get this started. But so what it's going to do is I'll have a good start for tomorrow. When I go to start breaking this horse out and putting the saddle on this horse, is it'll go pretty quick, in the morning. But this is about as far as I'm going to be able to get today in this first hour. If I was at home, I'd probably go a little further. But again, this is a certain circumstance, and a special event. So this is what I got done in this first hour. And I am very happy with the results I got done from it. So again, the teacher, doesn't tell the student when he's learned it. The student tells the teacher. So my student right now is telling me, all right, we're ready to move on. We're ready to go to the next step.
Josh, can you make any comments at this point on what you've got here?
Four, one, there you go. I'm having a good time. All right.
I think you're demonstrating the meaning of the word persistence.
I mean, it's not the student, that tells the teacher, it's not the teacher that tells the student when he's learned it. So I don't have a time limit. I know I want to get it done in a certain time. And I think it's pretty important right now, but again, I can only go as fast as the student's going to let me. And it's very important. I don't, get caught up in, into the pressure, and I just take my time and I do what I'm here to do. And the better I get this, the easier it's going to be when I break them out.
Now here I felt the horse was ready to saddle, and what I have done is I've broken all the things down that the saddle is going to do. I've worked the cinch on him with my rope. I've used the sack to touch him on both sides, had the rope around him where he could feel things all around his body. And I think the horse, he might lose it, but my feeling always is you try to prepare the horse with little bitty pieces, and then when it all comes together, he might get a little afraid, but he can come back to you for the help. I chose to put my saddle on from the right side because it's so much easier. You can slip it on just part way and slide it up as the horse takes it. And then I don't have to have the chance of when I put my cinches down and everything down. Here I want to lead him forward just to see if he can take the weight of that saddle on him. He hasn't had something that heavy up there. I have my hand on my saddle horn, so if the horse does jump, I can pull my saddle off forward and not let him jump out from underneath it. If he learns to buck that saddle off, then you might have a lot more trouble. When he can accept that, like he is now, I feel like I can move that saddle around and he's ready for the cinch. I used to not want my horses to move when I'd put that saddle up there, but now I do, just so they can get more comfortable with it. I'll take care of the movement later, but I want him to be comfortable right now. And I'm putting my cinches down and adjusting the length and making sure everything's real good. I couldn't see it, but sometimes you can feel a horse when he relaxes and he works his mouth. You don't have to see it, you can feel it right down through his body. Now you notice once again my left hand is always touching the horse. I've started that right from the start. And my right hand is doing the work, but my left hand is telling me what the horse is going to do, and it's also supporting the horse with that pressure on the neck. He kind of leans into my hand just a little bit. You see, he keeps looking into my hand for help. And now I'll reach through with my right hand and still support him with my left hand. And when I run my hand for my latigo, I still am touching him with my elbow. That's very, very important for me. And I didn't take my latigo completely through. I took it through one wrap and I didn't take it one more wrap. So now here I'm holding it and I can lead the horse forward with a little bit of pressure, and I can still get it off if I need to. But I just wanted to give this colt as much chance as I could to not have to buck with that saddle. If I had it too tight, he might have got scared. I could really feel that this horse could buck if I did the wrong thing. See, I'm just holding that just enough where he can feel it, that wide cinch. Then I felt he was all right, so here goes my next wrap. Now when you make this wrap, you're committed. So I'll take one wrap through, and I'm keeping it snug up his belly, and I'm keeping my elbow touching the horse so he has that support. And now my last wrap, and then I'll hook it on, not too tight, just tight enough where the saddle wouldn't roll under his belly. Lots of encouragement, lots of support from the horse. And he was getting a little nervous there, so I had to stop. See, I didn't want to keep cinching, but I went to soothing him. And then when he relaxes, then I can go to getting it a little tighter again. There, it felt tight enough. And I tried to put my stirrup down real easy, not to scare him. And I'll just let him relax for a minute. Let him kind of get used to that leather around him and just try to help him as much as I can here. A little more cinch. Hook my buckle in, and I think he's ready to go. Now, when I ask him to step forward, I get out in front of the horse and just take him one step with his left front. Now we're going to take his right front a step at a time. But if you get behind the horse and drive him forward, you might scare him and you couldn't stop him. But if I'm out in front of him, as long as I don't get run over, I'll keep off to the side just enough where I won't get run over if he gets scared. But I can help stop him and keep him from bucking just by lifting his head up. And he's doing real nice here. I'm really sure if I'd have got behind him and drove him forward, he'd have blew up and bucked, and I might have had to deal with that quite a bit. You see he's working his mouth and he's really relaxed with that saddle. I feel real good about it. The way I saddled him, I'm real proud of that. And I'm real proud of the way the horse accepted it. It says a lot for this line of horses, all the stuff we put these guys through. Now I'm putting my stirrups up here. There's a trick I learned from riding broncs. If you put your stirrups up short, it pulls the stirrup leather into the horse and it doesn't flop and hit them so much. And a real sensitive horse like this, it just pulls that stirrup in where it doesn't flop and hit them, and they also see those things out behind them. And it gets them a little more used to the saddle. All I want him to do is just a few steps forward, accept that saddle, and be all right. And just let him have a lot of time in between to think about what's happening. So he gets more and more sure of me and the things I'm doing to him. Now I stepped in behind. I feel more confident about driving him from behind, so I'll get him moving. Then I'll just walk on by him and bring his hindquarters across. He's switching his eyes a little bit. He's seeing some different things, and when his body bends, that saddle might bite him a little bit more.
Now what I'm starting to do is get this colt a little bit ready for me to start jumping up and down and have him carry my weight. The first step is just kind of put your elbows over the horse like this and take your legs away and just get those colts used to feeling your weight. If they can't understand and handle your weight on them without the saddle, they're never going to accept the saddle and you, okay? So put your elbows over them, jump up and down a little bit. I'm kind of jumping, I'm letting him know I'm coming. Take my weight away. Okay, see how that kind of bothered him, having something lean on him? So I just try and follow him as best I can. Go back to what I was doing, jumping up and down here. Okay, when you jump up and down, it really scares a lot of these colts, because that's what you're gonna do when you jump up in that saddle. You're gonna hop, 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 and then get up on there. So I just kind of jump around him here and get them used to that sensation. When they stand still and relax, I rub them. Then I'll kind of let my weight take my feet away. See how he handled it a lot better that time? He didn't run. Okay, it's very scary for him in the beginning, but it's not very dangerous, because as soon as they move around, I'll follow them. But if they move around too much, I just put my feet on the ground and pull that head back towards me and pull two eyes. Like, see how I pulled his head towards me? And just go straight back to what you're doing again. Instantly follow him around. Now pull again. I'll follow him, but if he starts to take off forward, I've got to go back in there and get two eyes. But what I don't want to do is sneak around this colt. I want to be real obvious with him here. The more you sneak around him, the worse they get. Lots of rubbing here. Okay. This is actually called the Jeffries method, and you know, I learnt this in Australia from a lot of different people, but the first guy that really kind of invented it was a guy called Cal Jeffries, and then he passed it on to several other guys, you know, a guy called Des Kirk and Morris Wright and quite a few others. And basically he could get a wild Mustang, and within an hour he could stand on its back using these techniques. And it's just a tremendous technique. I'm sure that a lot of people around the world have done things similar to this, but that's kind of where I got it from, the Jeffries method book and video. When I was a kid, I used to read quite a bit of that stuff, and really made a big difference in getting these colts quiet here. People think it's dangerous when they look at what you're doing, but really it's not very dangerous at all, because you're never ever riding the horse. As long as your knees are together, you're never riding them. As soon as your knees separate, now you're riding them. So if this colt would jump forward or do anything, all I'd do is just slide off and my feet would be on the ground. But if I'm riding him and I separate my knees, if he'd take off, a lot of people, what they would do is squeeze with their legs to hang on, and that would make the situation even worse. Okay? No, I've never had a horse ever buck while doing this, because most horses will never buck if there's nothing around their belly, if there's no flank girth, if there's no girth, nothing pressuring them. The worst I've ever seen happen with this is they might just jump forward or jump to the side, and as long as you need it together, if you have any sort of athletic ability whatsoever, you just kind of, your feet land on the ground. Notice what I do is I started to slide back a little bit, then I slid off the side. Now I'm rubbing my hand down his hindquarters. A lot of horses get real worried about having your hand around the back of them. So now I move around on him. It's just something about being real close to your horse. See how I'm following him here, but he kept walking? So I hop back down again. If he would have got any faster, I would have pulled his head towards me. Rub him here, move all over him. You want to act like you've been drinking a lot. Just move all over him, rub him. The secret is don't get up there and be stiff and scared. The more you rub him around the belly, it kind of just relaxes him. I bet it feels like just like a big human curry comb. And it's just something about being close to him that just puts these colts to sleep. And you'll notice the longer I do this, this colt will just get quieter and quieter and quieter. And we have this all in our colt starting videos as well. It doesn't matter whether it's a wild Mustang or domesticated colt, we do it with all of them. See how my knees are together? The closer your knees are, the safer you get. Lots of rubbing. You don't want to get up there and be real stiff. Now notice now that I'm standing directly behind him, that's a very vulnerable position for a horse. A lot of horses don't like you being behind them because they can't see you. It's kind of like a little blind spot there. Notice how I've got both arms moving all the time. I'm constantly rubbing him. See, he's huffing and puffing a little bit, so the good part about this is he gets to have a little rest while I do this. So this is kind of, he gets to rest, he gets to feel good, so it's like a double good deal, okay? Rubbing him there. The fact that he's standing still, letting me get right behind him and rub him is a great thing. It's real important that you, whatever you do on one side, you do on the other.
There's a couple reasons why I switched from the rope to the bridle. One is the bridle is what I'm going to be using tomorrow, on this horse when I break the horse out. I want to start as soon as possible, teaching this horse to give the pressure from that bridle. When I pick up that rein, that horse gives and responds to it. He learns that to move toward it, not away from it. Again, that bridle is what's going to keep me safe on that horse's back tomorrow. So it's very important that I start off as soon as possible with that bridle and teaching him to respond to that bridle. It's also easier than the rope. The main reason why is that rope, the horse will start putting more pressure on and start dragging and pulling on you a lot harder on that bridle. Therefore, it doesn't allow me to give him as clear of a signal to do what I'm asking him to do. So I switched the bridle as soon as possible, again, because it's a better teaching tool and a better training tool than that rope. And I'm going to be using that bridle a lot more tomorrow.
Here, driving this horse around by his tail. When a horse gets scared, he clamps his tail, and this way, just by shaking his tail, and when he gets to moving out, then you can just lift his tail up a little bit, and it'll really help him to relax. And he gets used to things from behind, and I just want him to learn to walk around me in a circle. He has a hard time getting going here, but once again, if he just walked off, I wouldn't stay on it very long, but being he didn't like it very good, that was a good reason to do it. Now we'll go to the other side, and every time we move backwards or forwards or whatever, I'm trying to get him to move where I want him to go, get him to shift his weight where I'd like it to go without making him do it, just kind of helping him to figure out how to do it. Now, if he'll walk straight, see, he keeps bending to me, looks like a dog chasing his tail. He needs to get straight and just step forward like that, and then I release. And now there I kind of let go a little early, but he made it all right, and we'll start again. Now I just want him to move forward now. He's getting a little afraid of going forward. The horse has to move forward. He doesn't want to go straight. See, when he straightens his neck out and takes his left foot forward, his left foot keeps coming back towards me, left front foot. All I need him to do is move that left foot forward, and I'll release my pressure, like that. I want that left foot to go forward. There, just like that. See, that one little release got him to understanding it. Now he can move off forward. And I have a real long halter rope here so I don't hinder his movement. Once he wants to go, I want him to go. This round pen is only 40 foot the first night, and it was a little too small. I like at least a 50, so the horse can move out a little better. Once he moved out, then I want him to relax and let him think things over. Here again, I'll see if I can just get him to step across and step by. He's a little afraid to step by me now. Doesn't want to move out too good, so I just have to help him. See how he doesn't want to keep his neck straight and going. You got to be real careful that they learn to step forward straight, I think. So when you get on them, they move off straight. That's what I was really working for. And that's why I don't do too much of the halter rope work where I get him to bending and coming to me too much. That's so easy to get if you use your hands properly and timing and releases properly. It's so easy to get, but that movement forward is so hard to keep if you're not careful.
Now what I want to do is I just want to kind of get this colt wearing this snaffle bit for today's first session. I'm going to ride him in a snaffle bit tomorrow, so I'd like to put it on today and just kind of let him get used to it. Notice there's no reins on this here. I just kind of move this bit around in front of his mouth and retreat and rub him. I just don't want to jam it up into his mouth, okay? I put my thumb in his mouth now. When he opens his mouth, I just kind of slide it up over his ears here. But by just getting this colt to wear the snaffle, I'm not going to pull on it and I'm not expecting him to give. He'll get pretty relaxed with it. And I just put this over the top of the halter. I don't want the bit tight enough that it's creating any wrinkles in his mouth. I don't want it loose so it's hanging out, but I don't want it tight so it's creating wrinkles here. In this first session I've got now, I wanted to get this colt quiet where I could handle him, jump all over him, get him haltered, put the bridle on, and just kind of get him confident being around me in general. The next day is when I was going to start doing the saddling, you know, picking up his feet, all that kind of stuff. You know, I'd planned exactly what I was going to do for my 3 hours, you know what I mean? I had it right down to the T. I had some cue cards that I keep in my pocket of a bunch of exercises. I only worked on things that I knew I was going to need in that obstacle course. And in the obstacle course, I was going to need a real horse that was real quiet, soft, supple, relaxed, and confident. So there's many exercises I could have worked on in 3 hours, but I only worked on the ones that were really going to help me accomplish what my goal was at the end. You know, all the groundwork exercises we do are certainly going to help, but there's some that are going to help more than others. So, you know, I went into this with a very strategic plan that I wanted to accomplish. Other people go into it and kind of like, you know, I'll just see what my horse gives me and that's what I'll do. I had a very distinctive plan, and I think that was, again, one of the reasons why I did well on it, because I didn't take anything for chance. I had everything planned, and if you follow the plan and you work the plan, it will eventually work for you. Again, whatever you do on one side, you do on the other, so I'm just kind of getting him used to taking my legs away and having him relax here. Just because they're confident on one side, they will not necessarily be confident on the other side. Notice how I pulled his head towards me? I want him to think that it's much easier standing still, having a cigarette, relaxed, than what it is moving around. Rubbing there. By doing this, I'm kind of getting him desensitized, I'm letting him get his air back, I'm getting him used to me mounting and dismounting as if I was getting up in the saddle. Okay? Last thing I wanted to do with my colt is saddle him, have him start bucking with the saddle, and that's no big deal if they buck with the saddle, but I don't want to take that saddle off until they quit bucking. Some horses won't buck at all. Some horses will buck a lot for the first 2 or 3 hours. You'll turn them out in a big arena, let them run around, and every 15-20 minutes they'll start bawling and bucking and making some noise. I didn't want to saddle my colt in case I had one that's real bronky, you know what I mean? So you don't ever want to saddle a colt in a position where you have to take that saddle off when he's not doing the right thing. You know, when I used to train horses for a living, I'd never saddle a colt, you know, after, say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because I knew that if I saddled him and I had a bunch of trouble, I was probably going to have to take that saddle off come dark time. I used to try and saddle most of my horses early in the morning. That way I could leave that saddle on all day and let them get used to it. The first day, when you saddle them, I let them buck, let them do whatever they want. I want them to think that that saddle just grew out of their back. Second day I saddle them, I do not want them to buck. If they go to buck, I'm going to go yield their hindquarters, move their forequarters, just redirect their energy. A lot of horses just get into a habit of wanting to buck with the saddle, and they're 20-year-old and still have to hump up the first 2 or 3 minutes. After they hump up, they're, you know, like kids' ponies. It's more so just a habit than anything. I don't want my horses to create a habit that later on I have to go back and fix. Constantly keep both arms moving. The last thing you want to do is get up there and just rub with your fingertips and be real scared, okay? The more you rub them, the quieter they get. You can do this with real tall yearlings, coming 2-year-olds, you know what I mean? Anything that's got a little bit of size to it, and if you're not real heavy, it's not that you're going to hurt their back, but when you jump on, you might kind of pull them off balance a little bit, eh? That's it, lots of rubbing. The fact that this colt's let me stand right behind him. Now, it might look dangerous, but I'm not really in any danger because, let's say he would kick at me, he's just going to push me out of the road because I'm so close to him. But if I was standing back 4 or 5 feet, he could really kick me. Now I'm desensitizing him to the rope. I'm just throwing this rope over his back and retreating, throwing it over his back and retreating. And I'm just doing this over and over again. See, horses hate objects, especially objects that what? Move and make a noise. So now I'm going to start to desensitize him to other tools that I have. You know, you will use the rope, the stick and string, the stock whip, all kinds of tools. Biggest thing is you don't want to take that pressure away until the horse stands still and relaxes. See, when I wrapped it around his hind legs, he kind of jumped at it. Some of them will kick it a little bit. No big deal. See, I'm preparing him right now to pick up his feet. If I can't wrap this rope around his hind legs and just get him to stand still and fall asleep, I'm going to have a pretty tough time getting him to let me pick up his feet here. So I'm kind of working on lots of different things at the same time when I'm desensitizing. I don't want to waste any time. You know, when you train horses for a living, time's money, so you really have to be conscious of your time. You know, a lot of people say that they're in the teaching business, they say time doesn't matter. I'll be the first to admit that time shouldn't matter, but time does matter. Unless you're a millionaire and you're retired, all of us have got a limited amount of time that we can work with their horses. Time is still valuable, so I have to be real careful how much time I put into this so I get the best out of it.
At first, the horse was moving pretty good off my body, so what I wanted to do now is I wanted to go to the dressage whip and teach the horse a cue that when I ask him to go forward, that means go forward. Again, all horse-related problems fall into 2 categories, going and stopping. So right now, I really want to stress forward, that when I ask this horse to go forward, move forward. Again, training, the only way you can train is by movement. You have to have some type of movement. So all I'll do is I'll just kind of keep tapping, and tap consistently, and if the horse still doesn't move, I'll keep walking toward his hip with that rein and make him move and say that's what that was for. That's what that cue meant. So just a way to back up and say, when I ask you to go forward, go forward.
So now I'm starting to desensitize him here to our Australian stock whip. I used to use this a lot in Australia. It's pretty much just like the handy stick, but it's what I call a, you know, the handy stick is what you call a city slicker stock whip. You know, when I first come to the States, I didn't realize that cracking a stock whip for a lot of people was difficult. You know, they'd end up whipping the back of their ears, they're wicking the back of the hindquarters, the horses were scared. But I love to use the stock whip and desensitize them to that noise and that cracking. If you can get your horse to stand still and ignore that, you'd be amazed how many other things that would typically frighten a horse don't frighten them at all. So this is something that most people wouldn't even dream about doing with a 2-year-old. I want to start out with a lot of this stuff because if this is the pretty much scariest thing he's going to see from me, everything else that I show him is pretty easy. Notice how when he relaxes, I always retreat and rub him, okay? Rubbing him under the belly, I'm preparing him for that saddle, okay? When those girths go around his belly, he's got to be desensitized there and he can't be jumping every single time he feels something move around his belly. Whatever you do on one side, do on the other, okay? I'm just kind of spanking the ground here, getting him used to it here. You never want to stop the pressure when you're desensitizing until the horse's feet stand still and they relax. As soon as they stand still and relax, retreat, rub them, and start again. See, Mother Nature teaches the horse that when you get scared, all you have to do is run. Run first, think later. But they never get to think because by the time they get to running, they get back to doing what they do best, which is eating, okay? So we need to teach the horse to use the thinking side of his brain. The thinking side of his brain doesn't run. It basically uses its brain like a problem solving. I want my horse to understand, hey, maybe listen, if I hang out, maybe this thing won't kill me. I want to show my horse that he doesn't have to run.
Now here I'm just driving the horse from behind. He doesn't seem like he's wanting to buck. So I'm driving from behind, but I'm switching eyes. He has me on his left eye, and then I'll switch over to the right eye where he sees me from each side from behind. And right there, the pop in the bullwhip caused him to get scared and buck. And when he did that, he doesn't look like he's wanting to buck very hard. His front feet are out, so I'm trying to stop him here. I'm just trying to get him to think about something else. Now, then as soon as he stops wanting to buck, then I'll try to move him to it. Again, I was leaning forward. Now see, he's scared. He just got scared there, and now he's out of it. His ears kind of go forward, then I let him stop and relax and think about it. It was unfortunate, but those things happen, and you're gonna have obstacles out there in the world, and I'm glad we got through it there rather than when I was on his back. I could help him either way, but I could help him quite a bit from the ground.
I want to remind you again that in just a few moments, this training session will end. When we announce end of time, each trainer is completely stopped training his horse. From that point on, they wish to unsaddle him. If they're saddled, they can do that. After that point, the horses will be taken. They'll be under night watch. They are unavailable to these three men until tomorrow when this event resumes. Just a reminder, the doors open at 10. We begin at noon.
There are only 2 minutes left.
Now here, I got my rope on the horse, and I'm just trying to prepare him for some things happening with that saddle on his back, like the rope coming up under his tail and touching him from behind, and I want him to think his way out of these situations. And I'm preparing him for me when I get up there, rather than just panic and blowing up and bucking. I want him to learn to think his way out of these things. And I'm just trying to get my rope up around his neck where it's not going to hurt him. But what I want to do is have him think his way out of this. Now, what that means is I'd like him to work his way away from that rope and just do some things that help him to get out of trouble. I think he's had enough, so the competition was nearing an end. So I decided to unsaddle him before we run out of time, and somebody else had to unsaddle him. I'm just putting my rope over his nose like a halter, so if he does get scared, I can help him come back to me. When you're unsaddling a horse, I sure didn't want to make any mistakes. It fell off there, and he's hung in there with me. Even though I made a mistake, he made up for me, and that's the great thing about these good horses. Put my cinches up, we'll be ready to ride tomorrow. It was a great evening. I was real proud of my horse, and I felt real good that I didn't get him scared or bothered, and I felt like I got a long ways with him without him being in too much danger, getting hurt, or in too much trouble or anything like that. I wanted to throw my saddle on one more time from the left side, just so he could have it both ways. And he had had plenty for the night, and I think he should retrain it for the next day. Nice little rub down, and we're done.
Time's up.
All right, gentlemen, please stop.
Josh, it looked to me to be a fairly difficult horse. What was your assessment of this horse?
Well, I don't think it was difficult. You know, it just needed a little more time in one particular area. You know, more than others. The thing is, once I get through that, you know, it's going to make everything else easier, and it's going to make it quicker. You know, so it just takes time. You know, and he let me know that this is where we need the most time right there at that moment. You know, so you know, to say difficult, you know, I'd say
I don't know.
It's
I'll probably just
unfair
throw
to
it
the
away.
horse. You know, it just takes time, and we'll get it done. And you know, he's trying. He's doing a good job. You know, I'm still standing.
John, any comments on what you've seen here today?
I think it's great. I think each trainer did what they felt like was right at the right times, and I think all three of them did an outstanding job.
Thank you very much for your comment. Clinton Anderson, you got some fans here, obviously. What's your assessment of how it went today?
Pretty good. I was happy with him. He seems like a nice colt, you know. We got him caught and jumped all over, and it was real important to me that I left him like that. His legs cocked. I left the round pen. You know, I left him. He didn't leave me. You know, he looks like a different horse. You know what I mean? Looks like something that some kids have been riding, and that's what I wanted to finish him off today. I could have saddled him. I had 15 minutes left. And I wanted to get saddled this first session, but you know what? You don't want to get saddled and only have 15 minutes and get into a wreck and not be able to finish it off. So I played it smart, and I'll saddle him tomorrow. That way, if I get into a little bit of a tight situation, I've got 2 hours to fix it. So tonight, he's going to go sleep on that. And, you know, what crawling all over him, that's the Jeffries method. That's KB Jeffries is kind of the Tom Dorrance of Australia. And that just gets him real quiet, and you can get a wild Brumby in less than an hour and stand on its back just by doing that. And you could see how docile that colt got.
And you used, as you said there, your last minute to just sort of wind down.
Wind down.
And to be able to leave him nice and
I
calm.
wanted to walk up and back and forth to him 100 times and act like he's a pasture horse and I'm walking out to catch him. Because tomorrow, I would like not to have to rope him to get him caught. I'm not saying I won't, but I'd like to be able to catch him just with the halter. I may and may not. You know, it depends on how much time you got. If we had more than an hour today, I would have messed around with him a lot more until I probably got him caught without roping him. Not that there's anything wrong in roping him, but we're on a time limit. So I got him facing up, I got him listening through the rope on. But what I wanted to do was try and get him to a point where he would just stand there and let me approach and retreat 100 times. And he said, oh, that's just Clinton. He's coming with the halter. Nothing to worry about.
All right.
Good deal. Thank you.
All right.
Kurt Pate, you seem to make the most rapid progress from the standpoint of the audience. And what's your assessment of this particular horse and how it went today?
Oh, he's a real nice horse. I don't know if they're for sale or not, but I like him enough to maybe try to buy him.
They are for sale, as a matter of fact.
But he, you know, I like to get some contact with a horse like this, so I chose to rope him without, and then I've been halter broke when he's a baby, so I knew I could really get to touching him. And I really feel the human hand, if it's right, and you touch him in the right way, the horse will really learn to settle. So to me, I've learned, and I've done a lot of these colt starting demonstrations in the short time, and the quicker I can get my hands on them and get them to feeling that calming touch that the human can have, it really seems to help me.
I confess I was looking the other way when the bucking started. Did you induce that, or did that just happen?
No. At the National Finals Rodeo, they induced that. I tried to deduce it. So I didn't want him to buck, but I knew it was in there. It's kind of like
you could tell.
It's in there. So I think I'd rather have it get out here. And these round pins are a little small. If he could move out better, I think. But, you know, when you're in Rome, you ride it like the Romans.